Hello, hello. Hmm? Okay, where's my chat? I mean, I can keep it open there. So let me just spread this with the world a little bit. There's one. And finally, I'm just going to send one more message here. We'll be chit-chatting real soon. As soon as the whole world knows we're live. That's the important thing, right? Okay, so I think that's everybody, which means I can start chatting. So let me just keep that there so I can see if anybody asks anything in chat as we go. And all right, so hello and welcome. If you happen to be new here, I am Katzer. I crochet a lot of Pokemon, and in particular, my big thing is crocheting life-size Pokemon. So accurate to the Pokedex size, and sometimes that's unexpected. Sometimes that is a great deal of work, and I made a bunch this year. So it's getting towards the end of the year, and I wanted to just look back through, some of my biggest projects and see, what all I did this year and go into a little bit more detail, maybe talk, or if I have any interesting stories about certain projects, or if, just talk a bit more, review how the year went. If you do have any questions about anything as we're going, by all means, you can leave questions in chat. I'll be keeping an eye to answer anything. I got a couple questions actually on Instagram that we'll talk about before the end of the stream. But yeah, with all that being said, I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the start of the year. It's quite a few posts down. I figured the easiest way to actually do this would just be to go through my Instagram posts through the year rather than trying to keep track myself of exactly what all I did this year and hunt down my own photos and things. We're just going to scroll through Instagram and see what it shows us, because anything cool I made I definitely posted about. So January 1st starts right here. So the first couple posts of this year were actually Christmas presents from last year that I never got around to posting about. This is, in my opinion, one of the coolest things I've ever made. I really liked this project. I have been a real button person for a long time. Like, I had one of those like messenger bags that I just covered in buttons every time I went to Anime North, is the biggest convention that I go to frequently, and I would just get like dozens of new buttons. And it's a really neat thing because if you get into a new fandom or you really like somebody's art style, you can spend like $2 on a button and then you have a piece of it and you don't need to worry about wall space for prints and stuff. So I was extremely excited, all of that being said, when I finally got my own button maker, which happened last year. And I got to play around with a few different things with it this year. But yeah, doing cross stitch and the fact that that could actually press into a button just delighted me to no end. And Pokemon in particular, anything that is pixel art really is excellent for cross stitch. I'll say that right away. Anything that comes in pixel art is just pre-patterned for you to do into cross stitch. So there's a ton of Pokemon sprites that I could do, and I would love to get back to doing cross stitch. Honestly, like this was posted January 1st, yes, but I don't know if I did any embroidery or cross stitch this year. So maybe that'll be a 2024 goal. Maybe I'll make a point of doing a little bit of that again, because yeah, I think it's a super cool art form. And then yeah, I made a couple posts about the same thing. So I did some of the original sprites from Red and Blue. This was, I believe I intended this to be a Charmander, but pick your favorite dragon style Pokemon, and that's what it is. And even made it into a little keychain, so that was neat. Oh, yes. Okay, so it was a Charmander. The point was, this is a Charmander, but also this is a Charmander. Just a fun little, I don't know, fun little gimmick, I thought. Yeah, and then I posted the Garchomp again, and then we get to our very first Pokestop of the year. I imagine a lot of the people who might watch any of my content are familiar with the real life Pokestop. This is not crocheted like all my Pokemon are, but it is that same idea of making something life-size, bringing it to life. We started this again in 2022, but continued it all through this year, so we have a bunch of these posts to look at. And yeah, I mean, January didn't have a huge turnout, honestly. It was a pretty lousy day, but people always enjoy seeing the Pokestop posts. They're consistently some of my top performing posts. And yeah, then we've got this one was just because I made that, and that's my name. I'm a really big fan of, oh my gosh, and GDQ commented. I'm sure I knew that at the time because I've liked it. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Awesome Games Done Quick, or Games Done Quick in general, because Summer Games Done Quick is just as good. If you are unfamiliar with them, it is an organization that does charity speedrunning marathons. So they have two big ones that they do twice a year, which is Awesome Games Done Quick and Summer Games Done Quick. It's a week-long, 24/7 speedrun marathon, collecting donations for, typically it's Doctors Without Borders and the Prevent Cancer Foundation. Those are the two big charities that they support. And it's just really cool. If you like video games, and especially like speedrunning specifically, and you haven't seen Games Done Quick, oh my gosh, you have to watch it. It's coming up really soon. It happens in January, hence this being posted in January. And yeah, I'm excited. They're definitely doing some good Pokemon runs. Scarlet and Violet's going to be in there, I believe. So I've been a fan of these marathons for years and years. And I think this is the first thing that I ever actually submitted as a prize. And so that was super duper exciting to me to actually be able to see what I made. No, you know what? No, this might be the second thing. I might have done a Kirby the previous year. But regardless, seeing my name on the stream was so exciting. And yeah, so that was just a little thing to tag them and show my enthusiasm. This is all prep for the next community day, which was actually classic. So this was the Larvitar Classic Community Day. This was my first time making some other little things. I thought the eggs were cute. Eggs and Pokeballs that we gave out instead of just Pokemon. And then this was not like crazy popular on Instagram. This post did fine. But this one was the very first post I had that ever went like truly viral. This post got like millions of views, I think, on TikTok. A lot of people just commented egg, and I think the egg comments fueled some of the attention there. But yeah, this was my first taste of like, oh, people are paying attention. And so that was really cool. That was a really good kickstart to my year for sure. And then following that, we went straight into Noibat, which is something that I had made, of course, for Noibat Community Day. Fully life-size. But this is... I'm going to speak for my audience, and I'm going to say that this is one of the most favorite plushies I've ever made. People friggin' love this Noibat. And to be honest, I'm really proud of it myself. There's a lot of projects that I make that, because I freehand everything I do, and because I don't have the patience to redo them very often, like they're really big projects, so that's a lot of hours to put in if I'm ever going to redo a Pokemon or tweak a pattern. So a lot of times they turn out like fine. If I'm really unhappy with how something looks, I will probably redo it. But there's often times where I make something and it's not quite what I would like it to be, and I know I could do better on a second time around, but I just let it be. And Noibat was one that was pretty complicated, and I wasn't quite sure how it was going to turn out, but this might be the pattern that I am the most proud of. Yeah, I really like how all of it turned out, from the cheek fluff and the wings. I thought the wings, it's really fun. I really enjoyed making them, the way I ended up doing it with, back and forth rows. This is a pattern I definitely want to release someday. And I think I'm going to do it at a milestone. So we did Shinx. Yeah. The Shinx pattern came out as part of our 10K celebration, so I've been thinking that I might finally write up my Noibat pattern for, like, I don't know, what's a good next milestone, like 25K? If we can hit 25,000 followers on Instagram, or maybe we do a subscriber reward. Yeah, like if I hit monetization on YouTube or something, maybe I drop Noibat. We'll see what comes first. But yeah, I think I'm really proud of that pattern. And it's quite similar to the small bat pattern. Everything is the same theory. The numbers are very different, but the concept is the same. So I will be releasing this pattern finally, I promise, soon. I'm just finishing up on my kind of tutorial series. There's a couple more videos that I need to finish up for that. And then once I have all of the fundamental videos on my channel, I'll dive into more patterns. And I did promise this little cutie pattern back in September. But like I said, I've been working on getting the fundamentals out. So once I release this one, again, it's very similar to the full size one, but it doesn't scale perfectly. So I will be doing them separately. This was just a rant about yarn. Lots of people had lots of opinions, but I don't really want to relive them right now. But the yarn was being mean to me and very inconsistent with the same colors. And that actually got a lot of traction too, because like I said, people have opinions. This was one of my part one. So I didn't really keep up this series, although I've always wanted to go back to it. I think about it often, and no doubt I will continue this series at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of Pokedex entries that when you take the time to really pay attention to them and you start making them, there are times where like it's only when you think it through that you realize, like, wait a minute, huh? And so this was one of my first little rants about that, and it was talking about what gets included basically in Pokedex. So in this case, I was talking about Diglett versus a lowland Diglett. They're the same height, but one of them has hair. Does that mean the hairs don't count towards height? Yada yada. And yeah, I've got a few of these. There's Magnemite is another one that I've been struggling with, and I'm definitely going to talk about that one of these days, but I wanted to make a few different size interpretations of it before I talk about it. But yeah, there's plenty of these coming. If you enjoy these, let me know, because I have a lot that I can talk about. Noibat Community Day, that was another spin the stop. This was teasing Joltik, which is the smallest Pokemon now. Diglett was dethroned as of Gen 5, and we've had a few others as small as Joltik since, but smallest Pokemon I've ever made. This Jinx, I actually love so much. This was a collaboration with Captain Steel. He did all of the electronics and stuff to make it cry. And it was a gift for someone. We sent it to Kizaron, who is, they do some streams and things themselves sometimes, but they are one of the main hosts in the GDQ streams. Games Done Quick does a lot of shows with them. And there's a bit of a running gag with the community about the cry he does. He does Jinx's cry, and people often will donate to the stream to make them do it. And so we made this for Kizaron and actually sent it to them, and yeah, it was just a Jinx because that was the gag, and we thought it'd be funny. But then I made this Jinx and I just fell in love with it. Like, the skirt came out so pretty and the hair came out so pretty, and I think I'm going to make myself my own Jinx one of these days, because obviously I have the pattern now because I did it once. I see a comment in chat saying, can you do a punch? And honestly, I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean by that. Thank you, though, for saying I have nice creations. Can you do a punch? And then, okay, so then we get into the Hoenn tour. So Captain Steel and I went pretty hardcore for Hoenn tour. I'm a fan of the Hoenn region. Hoenn and Sinnoh are probably my top two. And Jirachi is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. Certainly my favorite mythical. So I made both regular Jirachi and a shiny Jirachi. And then we wanted to have the Pokestop, but we wanted to be able to play the event and move around, and it was a like days long event, right? It was a full weekend of like 9 to 9 or something like that. So there was no kind of centralized time to pick to set up the full-size Pokestop. So this was our debut of the portable Pokestop, I believe. And I still really think it's fun. It's obviously a lot smaller, but the idea here was that it was something we could actually spin with your hand instead of just a button. I'm looking for a video of it and I don't see it. I'm sure I spin it in one of these, but Yeah, it was something you could physically spin with your hand like that. And we thought that'd be fun for people, and this way we could carry it around in a backpack. We could just be walking around, and if anybody else was playing, they could stop us, give it a spin. We could still give gifts and all that stuff. And then from there came this idea of, well, if we're going to be roaming for the event, and it's a Hoenn event, we put on the Latios and Latias hats, and I have them right here. Maybe I'll put one on, huh? I thought these were super cute. They actually turned out, what's straight? There we go. Even better than I expected. This was another one where I was just completely freewheeling, just doing my best. And it was a bit of a trust the process kind of situation, because before it had a face, or even like the red patch, and it just had like the ears, shall we call them? It looked so much like a turkey on my head with like turkey legs. So I think by time I added all the details, it came out really cute, and thankfully they were pretty warm. This happened in March? February. So, it was a cold weekend. It was a freezing cold weekend where I live, as I recall. We were cold during Hoenn Go Fest, and the unfortunate side of that is that there weren't a ton of people out playing, so we didn't actually meet many people. We had a whole plan of like touring all the different cities around us, and different times will be different places, and we met almost nobody out in the parks, because it was just a horrible weekend. But we had fun, we filmed content, we had cute hats. Like, I was still happy with how all of that played out. And then I made the Gimme Ghoul. Yeah, this was a cute one. As we went out to, like, every community day when we went out with the Pokestop, there would often be one or two people who asked if we take donations. And we don't ask for them, we just do this for the community. But because people were asking us, we thought we would accept. And that a really cute way to do that would be a Gimme Ghoul who likes coins. So that was a cute one, and yeah, I like him. I really like how cute he turned out. Gimme Ghoul's a good Pokemon. And then this was another really popular video, more than I maybe expected, but this was my very first teaser for the Clodsire that I made. Yeah, I was flexing that Dratini had been my biggest, but now we were going bigger. And oh boy, that was March 7th. And I was so optimistic about how quick I'd be able to finish it. And then I made a little update because so many people saw it and they were trying to guess what it was. And so I wanted to show off the progress I'd made. And that didn't take long, from the 14th. It was a week later that I had done that much. And then I don't even remember when I made my next update after that. It took a while. Slowpoke Community Day. This was another awful day. Really, right now I'm just justifying why we put the Pokestop to hibernate for the winter. Just giving you evidence of how terrible it was in case you didn't realize. Yeah, this was March. Slowpoke Community Day happened in March. And as always, we had plans to go and set up somewhere. And I had actually received some DMs from a follower saying that she was going to come with her family and that they were so excited and they were coming from a little ways away. And, they were making the trip to come see the Pokestop specifically. And then it was this awful, freezing, hailing, windy day. But I knew they were coming to see us, so we had to, we couldn't just bail. So we did our best and we set up, and I think in most of the takes, even filming it, we were bracing the Pokestop the whole time it was set up. It looks like it actually was holding okay. So I think we waited for a lull in the wind to film, and then we went as fast as we could. Because, yeah, I think we were set up for maybe 20 minutes total. And we had to tear down. Like, as soon as that family showed up and they got their chance to spin, we had to tear down because, like, something was going to break. And yeah, mostly we were just standing bracing it as like the whole time it was up, basically. Yeah, so March in our neighborhood was pretty brutal. But it was worth it for those people to get to see us. But we don't want to go out like that ever again if we can help it. So, okay. And then we had a life-size Meowth, life-size Mimikyu. This took a lot of finagling to get its head to stay up and then tilt over. It was just a shot that I really wanted, but the balance point of that was tricky, and it nearly fell off the desk. I think I think after where I cut the video, it does even fall off the desk, but it worked out cute there. This was like March 24th, so that's not so much later, and I had made a lot of progress. Looks pretty good there. Fitting my whole self inside it was my way of demonstrating just how big it was. And then, alright, so we had Mudkips and a Galarian Meowth. This is where we start building the display. So it started on April 5th. So I mentioned Anime North is the main convention that I would often attend. And so this year I actually had a display at Anime North in their artist gallery, or alley. That's the word I want. So in the artist alley where people are setting up to sell their art, they have a separate space called the gallery. And anything in the gallery is can either be just for display, just to show off something cool that you've made, or for auction, for a silent auction. And I applied to be part of that this year, which was really, really cool. I was really excited to be a part of it and be able to set up a display. So we wanted to display all the life-size Pokemon I had, and all I knew was that I wanted to make a bunch more Pokemon and show them off somehow. And this was another instance of Captain Steel to the rescue, because he was just like, I will handle this part. And he built this whole rig from scratch. Like, it's all PVC pipe that he just like screwed in place himself. And did all the design work himself, and then just kind of brought this into the living room and was like, this is the display. Let's start attaching things. And yeah, so this was the first kind of tease of that. I guess this might have been all of the life-size Pokemon that I had in April. I guess you can see there's a Jirachi just off to the side here. The Jirachi would be life-size. And like Diglett's back here, not quite on display. But yeah, there was not a whole lot, because Dratini was my Litwick was my very first one. And that was in October of 2022. So yeah, this is all that I had so far in April. That's wild. Okay, and then one of my personal favorite things. There's a few key moments that were great in 2023, and this is absolutely one of them. And it starts with another little rant. I'm still proud of this observation because I don't see this talked about. But I played a ton of Pokemon Snap when I was a kid, and Ekans Who Pearl was one of the classic games. There was 9 mini games. They were all excellent. But yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, always just kind of had it in their mind that you were throwing Ekans at Diglett because it's a single thing that pops up, and then that's Diglett, and then Dugtrios 3. But it was for this. I had decided I was going to make it in real life, the Ekans Hoop Pearl, and made my Ekans, and then was going to make a bunch of Diglett, but I was like, wait a minute, I have one Diglett, and it's tiny, because it was the smallest Pokemon in the decks when this game came out. And so if I throw an Ekans around a Diglett, like, it just wasn't lining up in my head, because it was so small, and the Ekans would be like huge around it. So I went to take a look again, and yeah, like on closer inspection, you can see that the whole ground is Dugtrio, and that as each of them pop up, the Ekans kind of like forms a ring tight around the size, and yeah, they've got like the angry face of the Dugtrio, and then you can, like, if you want to go back and watch this post, I did some research, and like different wikis and things had different phrasing of, and some of them called it a Diglett and some of them called it a Dugtrio, and so this was my little conspiracy moment. And yeah, I will argue that it is absolutely a Dugtrio if you want to fight me on that, but it's a Dugtrio. It is. So I did my little rant, and then I made it with a Dugtrio. That was the life size I chose to do, and it was, hey, I only had to make one of them instead of all three. This was an impossible ring toss. It was so difficult when both the things you're using are just plush. I don't know if you've ever tried playing ring toss. Like, never mind the Ekans itself being so malleable, but the fact that the target can just bend over makes ring toss so hard. And I was in this park for so long filming, being like, I just need one good shot. I just need one shot of making the toss. And I didn't get it. Like, everything I just did there, like this thumbnail, I guess, is pretty close. But yeah, out of all the throws, like, I said, I was there for so long, and that was the best one I got. That was the best shot I got, and it was like half on. I think there is potential. There's something we can do here to fill the Dugtrio with not just stuffing, give it some rigidity, and then it could be a really fun, proper game. The other thing you can see when you look close is that the Ekans is just like elasticed together to make it into a loop. That was the other hard thing to do, was how do I actually turn this Ekans into a circle? Ideally not permanently. So, you know, I could stitch it in place, but this was, yeah, good enough for the day. Yeah, so then we get into Togepi Community Day. Togepi was a super duper cute one. I love Togepi. These are really good cuties. Somebody really cool came to spin the stop. Somebody who, unfortunately, I did not get their tags, so I couldn't tag them, I don't believe. But yeah, she was awesome, and obviously cosplayed, which was super exciting. And then because of that and the Ash Ketchum tags, we actually got a comment from Ash's voice actor, which was really, really neat. Really fun little validation moment. And then we get into the 40-hour crochet work week. Oh, this was a doozy. If you weren't following back in May, this was me when April 26th, getting into crunch mode. So Anime North was at the end of May, and I had pretty high dreams, big dreams for that display that I got. And so I had a lot of Pokemon that I wanted to make by then. I wanted that thing filled out. I had a list. I wanted representation from as many generations as possible. And yeah, so I was in crunch mode. It was about a month away from the convention with that much to do. And so I set a challenge for myself, just for fun, see how it goes, get a lot of work done, that I was going to do like a 40-hour work week, like a standard work week, but crocheting. That was the work I was doing, was 40 hours of crocheting in the span of 1 week, which was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, I was timing it. And I think a few things to be considered were, you know, I had other stuff that I couldn't just stop doing. So for a full 40 hours of work doing crochet, I still had work I needed to do with editing posts and putting together content, because I couldn't stop doing that. So it was 40 hours above and beyond the normal amount of work I would have to do outside of crocheting. Anyways, I was like starting and stopping the minutes of crocheting. I was pausing the timer on bathroom breaks and lunch breaks. And I think, you know, the average 40-hour week worker does take bathroom breaks on the clock. So that was another little thing. I was being very strict with it. But yeah, I felt like I spent so much of my day crocheting anyways, it wouldn't be that big of a difference. And yet, you know, we can see on day one, I think I got maybe 6 hours in, something like that. So yeah, this was me explaining everything I just did about being behind and needing to get to work. But yeah, there was a lot of starting and stopping that timer and doing my best and trying to edit these videos into something entertaining. We're just watching now because I want to see the end. I was also filming my timers a lot because I thought it might be interesting to cut to shots of the timer ticking in the video. That ended up being a little bit too complicated to be worthwhile in my opinion, but I had so many screen grabs of timers saved to my phone during this, just in case I wanted to use them. Yeah, just over 6 hours. So there you go. But yeah, I did get a fair bit done, obviously, and then kept going. Day 2, day 3, and then day 4, I guess, is where it got kind of off track because I chose to do this week of working leading up to Swine Up Community Day, and I had not made any of my Community Day cuties. I had none of them. So there was no way that I was going to be able to put in enough hours to contribute to specifically the Anime North display, which was the point of the 40 hours, and also get the Swine Ups done. So I did end up counting that towards the 40 hours because I was still crocheting, but I didn't get a lot of progress done towards the display on day 4. Then we actually went to Swine Up Day, so I put together a little mini vlog about that. Crocheted in the car, because what else are you gonna do in a car ride? Hello. Welcome, chatter. And then, what was this, day 5? Oh, so this was just my recap. So this was day 5, and this is everything that I was able to finish in those 40 hours. So I think I ended up doing the full 40. I think I ended up needing a 6th day to do it. So I tracked what I did in my kind of Monday to Friday as if it were regular work, but then I just put in whatever extra hours I needed to finish up the rest. And yeah, there's like, you can finish a lot of Pokemon in 40 hours. That's 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, tons of little guys. 4. Most of a Noibat. Yeah, so tons gets done in 40 hours, and I've debated doing it again. I thought it was a fun challenge, and crocheting is what I love. You know, I started an account like this because I just really do love crocheting, and I love bringing these things to life. And when you're trying to run a whole account like this, you do end up spending a lot of time on editing and filming and posting and stuff like that, which I enjoy as well. Obviously I'm here live and enjoying it and happy, excited to make a video about this too, but sometimes it's really fun and relaxing and just peaceful to spend a whole week just crocheting and not worrying as much about this type of content. So I might do a refresh like that again in the new year. I do have a few big things to work on. So, yeah, it was, and honestly, the posts did reasonably well. I think people enjoyed the 40-hour crochet work week. And then this was so cool. So cool. This was Captain going above and beyond. Making the display itself was apparently not enough for him because he wanted to make me quite extreme and attention grabbing. So he actually made this sign, this like neon style sign. It's made out of LEDs, but again, neon style. And like, he shaped all of that himself. They were just strands of LEDs that he twisted and curled into cursive writing to make something this beautiful. And it was so tall at the end. We've got pictures of this the display coming up shortly, like at Anime North. But it was massively tall. Okay, so yeah, it's right there. So the way that the gallery worked was that you had an amount of space to use. They gave you like an area that was yours to use, and you could either have a table or no table. If you wanted your display directly on the ground, that was fine as well. We used the table, and then we put this whole structure on top of it. And like I was saying, like, it was really tall by the time we added the extension on top with the writing. And so you can see the curtains that kind of cordoned off the room for the gallery. It's all in a big event hall, but they had this space blocked out for the gallery. And we towered above it. So that was cool, because if you were anywhere in the room, you could kind of see my Pikachu sticking up at the top. Unfortunately, the sign where I happened to be placed was basically facing a wall. You couldn't read it from most of the room. I was facing the wrong direction, but it was there. It did go above the walls, so some people could see it. So in the end, that was a really cool addition that he made for me that I think was very worthwhile. Jigglypuff, of course, was sort of like the Jinx. It could make its own cries. This was another, not a gift per se, a donation. So this was another thing that went to GDQ for the Summer Games Done Quick, which happens, I guess, in May. Usually a little bit later, I would have thought, but I guess it started in May and went into June, because like I said, it lasts a week. So this was a really cool prize, I thought. And yeah, somebody who donated money to the stream ended up winning this, which was pretty neat. And I also donated this Waka. So for any Paper Mario fans out there, I'm a Waka fan. Gotta love Waka. There is, I guess you can't see it right now, but there's a big one on the shelf. You can just see it. Yeah, that's a Waka too. But I donated this little one that they put on the shelf of prizes, and it was there for like most of the stream, which was really exciting too. Just on display the whole time. And so finally on May 31st, we got the Clodsire reveal. I worked really hard. I think this was actually in maybe one of the last work week videos, but I needed Clodsire to be done for Anime North. That was important to me. It was such a big event with a huge potential audience. I wanted people to see Clodsire, and there was no way I was going to be like 90% done and not finish it for Anime North. So it got done. And yeah, we finally got the reveal, and I did a few different kind of photo shoots, cosplayed as Rika, Brought the Whooper, brought the Clodsire. It was too big to put in the display. Like, it would take up more than the entire allotment of space that I got in the gallery. So it just hung out outside with me. But it was cool. Like, if anyone's ever been to a big convention, it was neat to have a beanbag to relax in whenever I wanted. And this was another one of my most popular videos of the entire year. This was us trying to get everything to Anime North. So Captain Steel and I had to drive separately, and both cars were just jammed with my life-size Pokemon. And thank goodness that they're just stuffies that can squish down to mush if you need to. I have one of the smallest cars ever made. That's not like a smart car. Very, very compact little car. So you couldn't fit a ton in it. And yeah, this was such an experience that I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna film and post about this. So that was my car. And for all of the people who commented about just putting your seats down, just put your seats down. We had a plan. There was a reason. There was a method to this madness. So the idea was that if we put Clodsire in the back seat, it could just barely fit, but at least it would be held, like, constrained to the space between those seats. So, like I'm saying, you can squish down a stuffy if you're putting that, like, external pressure on it. So we can make it just barely fit in the back seats like this. If we folded down the seats, yes, it would fit easier, but it would also take up even more space, whereas we needed that trunk space for more of the plushies. So I had my reasons, and so many people ended up commenting, not just on Instagram, but even on TikTok, because it got a ton of views and comments there as well. So many people wanted me to put my seats down, but no, that would be inefficient in the long run. And then there's got to be, yes, so this was the other car that we brought to Anime North. Bigger car, thankfully, but yeah, also just packed to the absolute brim with every other Pokemon that I made that wasn't Clodsire. And okay, yes, okay, here's the full walk around. It's a lot of... I got a lot done. I got a lot done in the end for this convention. Yeah. Visibility was fine. We made it to the convention alive. That's all that matters. And ended up selling some of them in the silent auction. So we did have slightly fewer Pokemon to drive home. And then... this was another really cool thing that we did. So we ended up doing a collaboration with Pokedaxi right at the beginning of June. It was a hectic one, going straight from Anime North. I think we had 1 week from Anime North to going to Ottawa for this collaboration. Pokedaxi made a really fun video that we are in that I recommend anybody go watch. I might tag it in the comments. But yeah, this was super neat. He built out a whole obstacle course, and we were the final obstacle. And that was a lot of fun. This is how we got around Anime North, by the way. My stuff is a little bit out of order because it was hectic enough that I didn't post everything I wanted to, but eventually posted it. And so yes, this was didn't even fit in our cart. One person needed to wheel the cart, and we needed another person behind to lift the tail. We got a lot of looks, but that's okay. Attention was the point. And yeah, set up the Pokestop at Anime North, got a massive crowd there as well. Like, lines. We were there for 3 hours, I think. Like, a normal community day session would be 3 hours. So I think we did 3 hours. Unless it was only 2 because we were tired. But yeah, there was a lineup of people the entire time that we were set up. And you know, luckily we had some good support from friends and family, people to help, like you were seeing here, loading the gifts for us so that Captain and I could just be running it for people the whole time. We also had a friend kind of doing crowd work, keeping the line entertained, which was very appreciated. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then these ones are also from kind of the Ottawa trip to see Daxi. This was a shining moment for me. I got the opportunity to meet Cupcake Dex. One of my best creator friends. She is somebody that I became mutuals with earlier in the year, and we had messaged back and forth, and she expressed a great admiration for the Pokestop and how much she'd love to spin it one day. Meanwhile, I absolutely love everything she does. Definitely check out Cupcake Dex. She is a lot of like baking, so cupcakes is the core one there, but she makes all kinds of really cool stuff. And so I was like, what? You love my thing. I love your thing. I want to try your treats. And so we were able to arrange kind of on the way to meeting Daxi. We stopped nearer to where she lives to do a little stopover and collaboration moment here. She brought some chocolates that I was able to spin from the Pokestop. And yeah, I was just so excited to meet her, and it's been great connecting with other creators like her. More cuties. This is a bit more of like, this is me running that stop that we did with Daxi, or running that course that we did with Daxi. I did okay. I did not get an amazing time, but that's fine. I was betrayed by this first task. That's all of it. Everything else I did super fast. We set up a little forest of my life-size Pokemon, which was really cute. Like I said, I think everybody should probably go check out that video because it was really fun. We ended up providing a lot of props, honestly. And then we get to Pikmin 4. So this is where I pause the Pokemon content because I have bigger obsessions to deal with. So Pikmin 4 came out and I was just in Pikmin mode for a while. This is not crochet. This is needle felting, which is maybe my second favorite craft form. And I think that this turned out great. I think I actually did a pretty good job on this Ochi. And we did a little photo shoot. With Ochi in our garden. I was really glad that we had a garden this summer. And some really big leaves to play with. Oh my god, it's so cute. Pikmin 4 was such a good game. And then the cool thing about Pikmin is that they're tiny. Unlike Pokemon, Pikmin are tiny. So that Ochi was actually pretty life-size. And then to play my usual hand of like, hey, did you know this thing is this size? Because I made it life-size. I went with the Empress Bellblacks. I was a huge Pikmin 2 kid. And we actually had the official guidebook, and I spent a lot of time studying it and the Piclopedia at the back. So I always knew that the Empress Bellblacks was huge, and I knew to be very scared of it my whole life. And so now that I became this person who crochets life-size things, I figured it was time to bring that to life. She is on my shelf now. Yeah, I haven't done a ton of Pikmin stuff. Obviously, I mostly do Pokemon stuff, but I am still a big fan of Pikmin. And I would love to make more. I think there's a few interesting enemies. They don't all lend themselves to being plushies the way that I think Pokemon tend to. Some of them are a bit more like, well, mechanical, for instance, or spiders. That are arachnoid type Pikmin. So arachnid variations that I would have to figure out how to give them a structure. That'd be tricky. Or they're just really tiny. So, I have to figure out what I want to do. But the Disco Longlegs is a new boss that we got in Pikmin 4 that I think I speak for everybody on the internet when I say it's our new favorite Pikmin boss. And that's something that I think maybe Captain and I could work on at some point, because I would love to have a Disco Longlegs. Then I played around with my Pikmin stuff. I wanted to make a few posts out of it. Yep, and then so more community days, and then some big stuff. This is our trip to New York. Spheal was a really cool project, and I don't even remember whose idea it was. I think it might have been Captain Steele's to begin with. But it might have been mine. I don't know. I was the one who played Legends Arceus and like obsessed over the Spheals on that beach. So I might have said something about like, can you make me a rolling Spheal? Might have been his idea though. I honestly don't remember. All that matters is that it happened. So he built this whole mechanism, like 3D printed that inner framework, and then put all sorts of engineering stuff on the inside, motors and a weighted arm, and definitely there's a lot more information about this on his channel, which you also might consider going and checking out. Apologies, I thought I heard a cat messing with something. Sorry, yeah, so you should definitely consider, if you are interested in how this works, you can go and see Captain Steele explain in his videos and shorts everything that went into it. But yeah, essentially it was a remote controlled weighted arm that would like adjust the center of gravity depending on where it was, which would cause the Spheal to like pick up momentum in that direction. And all I had to do was make a skin to cover it. So he was like, here is a frame, make a cover. And I don't even know if I have a pattern for this. I don't think I even really kept track, to be honest. I just kept making rows and then like placing it on top and seeing how well it fit, and then making another row from there. But I was really, really happy with how this turned out. I think all things considered, I did a pretty good job fitting it to the framework. And it just looked so cute. Like this is a rare instance of a Pokemon that I made life-size that the Pokemon Center has already made life-size. Normally I don't do direct competition like that. Mind you, theirs is not crocheted, but I low-key thought mine was cuter. Yes, mine rolls. But it was just so stark, like using the black outline and everything. You know, this is another interesting point when it comes to not just interpreting a Pokedex size and trying to determine what dimension that indicates, but even just the idea of adapting an image, like a artwork, right? Or an animation, and turning that into something physical. So if you look at Spheal's artwork, it does have a black line dividing the cream belly and the blue. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, maybe that's just artwork and they need to like have clear lines. Like that's not to say that it necessarily would have a stripe. And so when you look at the Pokemon Center's Spheal, it doesn't have that contrast. It's just a cream belly that goes seamlessly into the blue back. But I made the executive decision that I thought it should have that like visual contrast, and I think that was a good call on the belly and on the spots. I think that made it really pop, and I think that really elevated the design. And then of course I threw together the simplest little closet cosplay to look like my actual Arceus character, which it was fun. It was super low quality work on the t-shirt, but honestly from the distance of a photo like this, I think it looks pretty good. And yeah, honestly, so that was something that Captain really wanted to have ready and put together for our trip to New York. We went to Pokemon Go Fest and actually, brought the Pokestop and brought it all the way to New York City, set it up in Times Square for all of 30 seconds to get a really good photo. I was really anxious. I was sure somebody was going to tell us to stop doing whatever we were doing, but nobody said a word. Honestly, there's so much going on in Times Square and so many other people doing their own pandering and stuff that nobody cared. Nobody spoke to us. But nonetheless, we didn't want to stay right in the middle of that and cause a scene or anything. So we did just get the shot because it was a priceless shot, really. Then we ended up setting up like for people to come spin it somewhere else. Here, to be specific. This is just a spot we picked out in Central Park. We just started walking around the park until we saw something that looked good. You know, shaded for us, a little bit off the beaten path so we wouldn't cause like a traffic block on the pathways. You know, again, trying to not have anybody tell us to stop and leave and move. But yeah, this was there were so many people, of course, playing in the park. It was Go Fest. People from all over the world had come to play, and Central Park is an excellent place to play. So this was a little bit like Anime North in that for as long as we were set up, we had a lineup. But it was different from Anime North in that we did not bring all of our friends and family to New York City. So it was just the two of us. And it was exhausting. We did okay. We swapped off so that one of us got to sit down and just load gifts, and the other person was the one on and bending and talking, and yeah, we got through it. And there was actually a PR team, like a social media team for Pokemon Go was walking around the park, and I wish I remember that person's name because he was super cool and friendly, but he was like a social media manager in charge for this event, and he really liked what he saw. It was always, you never know, that fine line of like, what a super cool fan project, we love this and want to feature you, versus like, what are you doing with our IP? You're not like a licensed part of this event. So it was really cool that he was excited about it and, you know, supportive of what we were doing, and wanted to spin it, and got his guys, or whomever, got his people to film a little short of him spinning it and stuff, and that was really, really exciting. We hoped that something would come of that, which it didn't seem to. I mean, there's so much going on, and he did say to us that it's basically just his job to get like video of cool stuff and then send it to the higher ups who decide what to actually post. So it's not up to him what makes it onto the Niantic or the Pokemon Go socials. But you know, even though it didn't end up getting posted as far as we saw, it was still really cool just to have a little bit of recognition and know that we spoke to somebody at the company who liked it. And, you know, if we ever go to another event, we might bump into them again and, you know, build the relationship from there. So anyways, that was a really cool outcome of being in the park. And then got to see our good old friend Cupcake Dex again. And we had some fun with a few different content creators that we got to meet there. We all played around with Sfeel. This was another friend that we finally got to meet and make some content with. This is Dynamo Gear, who is another incredible Pokemon artist that you should absolutely be following. He makes Pokemon with pipe cleaners. This is 100% pipe cleaners. And actually is a life-size Gimme Ghoul as well, because that's a small enough one to reasonably make out of pipe cleaners. But yeah, we were so excited to meet him, and it was kind of like Cupcake Dex. Like, he was so excited to get to spin the Pokestop, and we were like, are you kidding? You're going to put our Gimme Ghoul in our Pokestop? And did a little photo shoot with Dosh. Yes, that was the name. Gimme Ghoul's name is Dosh. So that was super fun. And yeah, the people that we met up with in New York City. So there was a little bit of a gathering, a meetup. And because so many of the mutuals that I have connected with are Pokemon people. Like, that's the idea, right? We're all Pokemon content creators. A lot of people had interest in GoFest. It was a natural place that a lot of us happened to be going anyways. And a lot of the people I was mutuals with happened to be North American, so New York was actually pretty reasonable for us to get to, yada yada. So I ended up meeting a few of my mutuals when we were there, which was really, really cool to finally meet them and make those connections and like real life relationship kind of thing. And so this trip to New York was actually the foundations for the Pokemon Art Guild, which is the little group I put together. I tag them sometimes, I talk about them sometimes, but basically there's a handful of us that now do just collaborations a few times a year, maybe some challenges, maybe, you know, who knows, but the point is you should follow all of us. And I can tag everybody. But yeah, this is the group that I did a Halloween challenge with. We'll get there. We'll get there in the scrolling. And I think a few of them are going to be using the holiday hashtag that I tagged just a couple days ago. So yeah, New York was excellent for actually forging those connections. And I'm super grateful to be part of the Pokemon Art Guild now. Okay, so this was... Oh, okay, first of all, we'll look at this because I'm so proud of this photo. Oh my gosh. Photographer credits to Captain Steel. But yeah, this was another, like, I was being so fussy with him. He was doing his best and I was like, no, the angle's wrong. It doesn't mirror the reference close enough. We have to keep trying. And it had been a long day and it was really windy, which was just overstimulates me. So I was being kind of grumpy, to be honest. But in the end, it was so worth it to get the photos we got. Because yeah, we actually brought Sfeel to a beach. This was started out like so many trips as me just being like, hey, we're people and it's summer and I like the beach and we should have a beach day, which turned into, if we're going to a beach, we need to bring Sfeel because Sfeel naturally spawns on a beach, and think of the content. So brought Sfeel to a beach, an actual beach, and I think a lot of these, like all three of these photos, turned out pretty great. These were the three main reference photos that I brought along that I specifically wanted to replicate. You know, we were working with the limitations of what the beach near us looks like, so it's not like exactly spot on, but it was really close. And quite honestly, it's kind of nicer to have water in the background than to just have a sea of sand, if you ask me. But that was yeah, these are some of my favorite photos I've ever taken, and definitely worth making the little cosplay, simple as it is. And I mean, when you see it side by side, you can see that maybe the proportions of my Sfeel aren't perfect, but that's something I am willing to bear. Because it's pretty darn close. Yes, okay, and then so after that is when I get into... This was... Okay, right, so it was in September, because the first Pokestop outing, the first Community Day Cutie I ever made was in September of 2022. So as of September 2023, that marked one full calendar year of making the cuties. So this is when I did my vote to see who everybody favored. You know, vote for your favorite cutie, and I will make that a pattern. So this is why I've been promising to make a Noibat pattern since September. It was everybody's favorite by a massive margin, as I recall. It was almost unanimous. People freaking loved this Noibat. And fair, because yeah, it is my favorite cutie that I've made, I think. Let me reference my tree. Like, the Squirtle turned out pretty good. The Teddy Ursa was cute as all heck. And the Togepi, I thought, actually turned out really well. The Slowpoke I liked making just because it was easy to make. It was just like a one-piece no-sew pattern, so I did love that. But kind of like I was talking about earlier, Noibat being the pattern that I am most proud of making. Yeah, it's a good cutie for me to feature, I think. And I am excited to make that video when I finally make that video. And then we had our 10K celebration. So I finally hit 10K followers on Instagram in September. Yeah, that was really exciting. Obviously, I've been working hard, but it always feels good to get that kind of recognition, start to get that credibility, work towards profitability, things like that. But mostly it's just so cool that that all of you are here and enjoying what I do, and that I get to share it with people who care. And it was a nice gratitude moment. And yeah, I chose to make a little celebration. I made 10K out of dittos. The inspiration for this was the countdown in Pokemon Stadium games. So whenever the mini games are starting, they give you like a 3, 2, 1, game begins. So that's why the 1 is upside down like this. I did get a couple questions about why like the face is at the bottom, and that is just literally pulled from Pokemon Stadium. This is exactly what the 1 looks like. I did need to just extrapolate to make the 0 and the K. I didn't have a direct reference for either of those. But yeah, the one is in game, so. But I thought that was really cute. I had fun with that. And then of course the Shinx. I had asked my Instagram audience what would be a cool celebration. Just I wanted to do something for 10K. What should I do? And a few people had said, release a pattern. One person specifically said, make a Shinx. So I was like, well, I'll do it all. I'll make a Shinx and I'll make the pattern. And that was the first pattern I ever released, like first Pokemon pattern. This was the first non-Pokemon pattern I released. It was just a berry. I don't actually remember if this was before or after I made the Pokeball pattern. I suppose that's not important. But I do really like my raspberry pattern. That's another one I'm pretty proud of. I think it's just simple and cute. Okay, well this was after, I guess. There you go. It happened like a week later. Yeah, more community day, story time. People really liked the photo of, yeah, I think this was the first time that I just took a picture of a bunch of the community day cuties, like in the wild. We sometimes did like a backdrop, like green screen kind of photo of them all together, but this actually went over really well, putting them in nature like that. And I want to keep talking, but I did drink coffee before the stream, so I just need to take a real quick bathroom break, and then we will get into fall stuff. So bear with me. I've returned. Alright, so into Halloween. Yeah, this was inspired by some other people. I've tagged at Press Print was the first person I think I saw do it, but Togepi wearing a jack-o'-lantern seems to be like a fairly common project. Super cute project though. Very happy with how mine turned out. I just made it as like a costume, so it just pulls on over Togepi. I didn't remake a Togepi with a different body or anything. Ooh, pardon me. Which, I don't know, saved me the effort of making a new Togepi, but I also thought there was something kind of cute about that. Like, actually Togepi is just getting dressed up, but half egg is its favorite style of clothes or whatever. So yeah, that was a cute kickoff to the Halloween season. Then I got into my Pumpkaboo scheme. So I really wanted to make all 4 sizes of Pumpkaboo. This is specifically a big deal in Pokemon Go. They made a big fuss out of the whole Pumpkaboo thing. I believe it's like a thing in the main series games as well, but this Pokemon specifically comes in different sizes. So I really wanted to make the extra small, the regular, the extra large, and the double XL. I thought it'd be great to see all 4 of them together. And I thought it would be funny and I guess interesting to make them. This is a really standard kind of traditional way of making pumpkins in the fall. I see a lot of people do it this way. You can make really cute little pumpkins. But I wanted to do it for the Pumpkaboo, to make the pumpkins this way. I don't know. I thought it was a good idea, and it was it would mean that I wouldn't have to come up with my own way of making a pumpkin shape, because this is like a tried and true way of doing that. And I thought it was just kind of funny to see how large you could scale up this concept. It worked quite well for the extra small. This I was hoping was going to be an extra large, and it turned out just being a single extra large. And it worked okay for that. I don't know if I could even do the XXL with this method. It's just too bulky to actually close at some point. Like, the way that you have to stitch around the opening and pull it tight, but there's so many stitches that as tight as they can get squished together still leaves like a hole instead of actually cinching shut. So again, I thought I was making an XXL. Like, I was going to do the two ends of XS and XSL and then fill in the middle, and it just came out to be an XL. So I only ended up making 2 because the XL already took me so long that I didn't even know how long it would take to make a double XL. This is the size of the extra small, which is already big for the average person's amigurumi projects. The average crochet plushie maker, this is already a really like jumbo plushie. And for me, this is about as small as they get. But yeah, it was a lot to try and do. And then at the same time, I wanted to make all of the different Pokemon Go costumes, as many as I could for the Pokemon I had. I didn't want to like make new Pokemon from scratch necessarily, but if a Pokemon that I have already made had a Halloween costume, I wanted to make it. In this case, I had already made the hat for myself last year, so that was an easy one. But I made Pikachu its hat, and I feel like there was a third thing I'm forgetting now, but and then in the midst of all of that, Captain Steel was working on a project that he asked for my help on. So I actually made a whole new project for him. This is the puppet from Five Nights at Freddy's. That was a super cool project. I thought that one was just so neat. And once again, I am going to suggest you go and look at Captain Steele's channel, because he made Five Nights at Freddy's real, which is a thing you probably aren't supposed to do. But it was just an element of it. And first of all, I mean, I really love how my puppet turned out. So you should go and appreciate Puppet. But yeah, that was a really cool video that I was happy to work on. But it did mean like a whole life-size marionette that I had to make, which is like 7 feet tall. And then Timber Day happened. And so that was a whole community day that I, you know, had to put the time into. And then this is the extra large Pumpkaboo, as it turned out. So that's the difference between the two sizes. There's one that would be in the middle, size-wise, and then there's one even bigger. But yeah, at least I finally got that done. That was October 21st. And so that was October 21st. And with everything else I had going on, yeah, there was just no way. Right, Pumpkaboo was the one who got the other outfit. There was just no way that I was going to be able to make all 4. Like, not a chance. So I settled on the 2 that I had made, and I made the most of that. This is the full puppet. We brought it to see the movie with us. Some people were spooked. The friends I went with, those are the people who were spooked. And then carved an actual jack-o'-lantern for the Pumpkaboo head to sit on, which was just a cute little touch. We happened to find a pumpkin that was like the perfect size and shape to be a Pumpkaboo, so seize the opportunities, you know? That was cute. And then the grand reveal. So this this was the first project the Pokemon Art Guild did together. We have rebranded already, so I'm tagging as the Pokemon Art Collective. We've changed our name to Guild. That's neither here nor there, just to clear up some confusion. So this was so cool. I was so glad that they wanted to do this with me. Like, it's sometimes you have an idea that you're excited about, but until other people are excited about it, then it's finally real. So yeah, we all swapped Pokemon, like Secret Santa style. We all wrote out the name of one ghost Pokemon, one non-ghost Pokemon, and then randomly assigned names to each other, and then had the challenge of dressing one of those Pokemon as the other one in our own art forms. So I obviously crochet. We had cupcake decks, was baking. I did felting. Dynamo Gear, I mentioned, does pipe cleaners, and Okami Salami does digital drawing. So we had 5 different art styles, which is already cool. All of them were one Pokemon dressed as another for Halloween. It was such a fun project. It was so cool. And of course, yes, this is mine. So I have a Tyrogue dressed up as Driftbloom. And that it is also life-size because that's what I do, and I didn't want to cheap out on this. So yeah, October was a heckin' busy month, man. Like, looking back on it, I know I was busy. I remember being busy, but doing all of this, it was so many different projects, and yeah, I just barely fit it in. Yeah. And then we had a convention. Another convention that we went to at the very beginning of November. This was YumaCon. And they made Community Day on the 5th of November, which is right at the beginning of the month, which they never do. It's always mid-month. Like, it's always the 17th-ish. And here we were with the October that I was coming off of, and already Community Day on November 5th. So that was also a bit of a crunch. This was originally just something my sister had invited me to join in on. She was like, hey, YumaCon's fun, do you want to go? And I was like, oh yeah, I wonder what we could do at a convention. What projects will we have to show off? And she was like, I just meant, like, go and enjoy a convention, like, hang out. I was like, oh, that's an idea. So this was supposed to be more of a vacation instead of a workcation, but as soon as I saw the date for the community day, I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry, sis, but like, if it were any other weekend, we could chill out. But no, this is the one weekend a month that we have committed ourselves to, like, upkeeping. So, the compromise was to bring the portable Pokestop again, which I think was good. I like breaking that out. It's way easier to fit in a convention space, never mind trying to drive to Yumacon. We couldn't all fit in the same car and bring the Pokestop. So carpooling was more important. We brought the small one, and this let us actually go around the con instead of just being set up in one spot. We could go right into the convention center. We could go to different areas in the convention center. We could just walk around. And this was kind of what we had wanted to happen for Hoenn Fest. The Hoenn tour was that, people would see us and stop us and spin us. But we ended up not like running into anybody during the Hoenn tour. In this case, we ran into tons of people, and we did stop and let a bunch of people spin the stop, and then we would just kind of park in a place for a while, and a bit of a crowd might form again. So that actually worked out really well. All right, and then we gave Whooper a hat because it was Fashion Week. Nice and easy when you already have a Whooper. Tried to put a real hat. So this hat that I'm wearing, we tried so hard to just put that hat on Whooper, because then it's like free content. You own a black toque, you own a Whooper plushie, you just put them together and free content. But no, it was not a chance that a normal person hat was ever going to fit on this noggin here, which is a shame because I had to make this whole hat from scratch, but at least it was simple. At least it was a simple thing to do. And then finally I showed off my shinks. Like, after making a pattern and everything, I never actually just made a normal post being like, look, life-size shinks. So I did that. Showed off my Whooper. This was a really cute one. We're getting close to now. This was for American Thanksgiving that I made this post. November 23rd. Again, these ideas come from somewhere. I think I had this idea myself. I think maybe even Captain had an idea of like, Appleton's a cute Thanksgiving idea, because I was probably looking for something that was Thanksgiving themed. And then after he said Appleton, I was like, oh man, I could make the pie. And so it became the idea of how do I make a pie holder that is like an Appleton. And what's really cool about all this is that I was limited on what I could make. Like, a pie has to fit in a pie tin, and I don't have fancy custom bakeware. So I just measured my pie tin and worked off of that, kind of scaling everything out from there. So I knew what size the pie would need to be. What does that mean for the rest of the Appleton? And what's really, really cool is that it turned out life size. Like, it is pretty spot on life size, which is just so neat. I'm so glad that worked out. And I think it's funny to know that an Appleton's back is actually a standard size pie. I found that funny. I can't say I tried really hard. Like, it's not like I tried more than one pie, but I did try to make it a big doming pie. I think the secret, more than anything, is just that I needed more apples. Like, if you pile your tin full of apples, then it's gonna be a dome. That's the whole secret. And it was not bad. It was pretty bulgy. But then as soon as it cooled, it all started to sink. So it turned out the way it did. So this, as it turned out, was a little bit shy of life size, but if it had held its shape, it would have been. So it is scaled to life size, even though the pie itself fell a little flat. And now the most ridiculous part is that we ate the pie, but I never actually made a proper crocheted top to it. Like, I didn't finish it because it had to be left open for a pie to go in. So, so it's just still open now that the pie itself is gone. And I keep saying that I'm going to finish it, that I'm going to make another piece that I can add on top to close it off, potentially even detachable if I ever wanted to put a real pie in again to redo this gag. But it was just so busy. Like by the end of November, you are into the holidays, and I'm a big Christmas person, so I tend to do a lot of things with friends and family around the holidays, and I had a lot of projects that I wanted to make that were Christmas themed, and so I have not made time for Appleton. Like maybe in the new year I'll finally close it up and then it can join the life-size wall. But yeah, it's just like sitting on the table still with a big open back, fluff everywhere. Yep, and then I finally released my first pattern. I wanted to have a bunch of patterns out in November. November was supposed to be the month that I focused on patterns, and yet my first one came out November 28th. But I tried, and I got something out in November, so it's not bad. And then yeah, this is where we get to all the Christmas content, because as I just said, I'm a Christmas gal. This was me showing off the tree right there. The tree I've got set up in the background. And I will take any excuse to play the Pokemon Christmas Bash. I unironically love that album now. Like, it is horrible. Like, it's terrible, but that doesn't make me love it any less. So yeah, I was just showing off all the different Pokemon-themed holiday stuff I have. That scarf I did make from scratch just to kind of like Halloween. Pokemon Go does lots of winter outfits, so I wanted to give Sfeel its winter outfit. It took longer than I wanted. And then here we go. So some of this is just already getting into a little bit of recap-y stuff. Some of my favorite posts for the year that we've already talked about here tonight. Talking Pokedex sizes, and then these being my first... another excuse to use the Pokemon Christmas Bash soundtrack. But yeah, these were my first of 3 planned Christmassy themed projects, like winter holiday kind of themed Pokemon projects. One is just about finished now and will probably be posted in the next couple days. And one more I need more yarn before I can finish it, so yeah, it is the 17th today, so I'm definitely running out of time if I want to do it before Christmas. But some of them, even if I post it just after Christmas and it's still wintry, you never know, right? But yeah, so that brings us oh, and then of course Mareep, yeah. Poliwag. I was away on a personal vacation during Mareep Community Day. We tend not to make a huge fuss about the classic community days. Sometimes we go out if we feel like it, but we tried to really hit all of the new community days with the Pokestop. So we basically just sat this one out and said Mareep Community Day is not, we're not going to observe that. We're not going to do anything particular for that. I was going to make a Mareep at least and post it, but I didn't end up finishing it, so I said forget it. But with this weekend being Pokemon Go's December Community Day is every Pokemon again, so I figured I would still finish the Mareep for now. And my god, it turned into the cutest little pom-pom puffball. I'm happy with how that turned out. That was, yeah, so I made it actually using my Slowpoke pattern. So underneath all of that fluff, it is basically the size and shape of the Slowpoke. And I figured I would just do that, and then I would add the fluff on top, and then I was doing that, and I was halfway through, and I was like, this looks like a pom-pom. This could have been just a pom-pom. Could have made it in like 20 minutes, but no, did it the hard way. But in the end, as long as it turns out good, I'm happy. It's time well spent, and I definitely think that turned out well. Again, proportions maybe not perfect, but it's worth it to be extra fluffy. I'm happy with that. Yeah, and that that takes us to now. It's been a really good year. 2023 has been a very good year. We've seen massive growth on all of my platforms and so much support. And like I said, getting to meet up with other creators and form a group with them. Clodsire is a big deal, huge highlight. It still sits in my living room. The cats love it. I have taken some naps on it. I am really excited to finally be getting tutorials out and putting some effort into YouTube. Obviously, I've done a couple different live streams now. And, I'm definitely happy to be putting the effort in here. I'm seeing my YouTube platform growing as well. The tutorials are not going to be super exciting for people who just like Pokemon and are here to see what I make, but I do think it's just such a cool craft form, and I love spreading crafts. And there's so many people who comment like looking for commissions and stuff, which I don't typically do, and saying, my so-and-so loves this Pokemon, could I get one? Like, would you make me one? Or, my kid would love this. And I just don't have the space right now to do that myself, even if, people are willing to pay me. Well, it's just not my focus right now. But I understand that joy and how special it can be to people to have that one Pokemon that they love so much and have their own. And especially if it's a Pokemon that can realistically be life-size. Like, it means so much to me to have, my own Jirachi and Shinx and Weasel and some of these favorite Pokemon of mine. And so I want other people to be able to have that, but I can't be the one to make it for everybody. And so I would just love to be able to share that ability to make it for yourself. The fact that I can pick my favorite Pokemon and make it myself. My practice and a general aptitude for crocheting that I'm able to pattern myself is even harder to teach. I'd love to try someday to make a bit of a workshop on patterning. But even in the meantime, just like crocheting itself, I honestly find, I think it's more accessible than people think, because it's so tricky to learn, very, very starting off. I think a lot of people get turned away. But once you can handle the basics of crocheting, there's the doors, just floodgates open, because there's so much you can do with just the utter basics. I rarely go beyond basic stitches. And like I said, there's so much that you can make. And there's so many good patterns out there, even free patterns. So if I can get any of those people, any percentage of the people looking to commission me that I had to tell no, if I can get any of them to learn themselves and I can help them on that journey, and then I can just hand them my patterns and be like, you do it though. The idea that they might is really exciting to me, and it is something that I feel strongly and passionate about. So I'm very excited to have the tutorials up on the channel and to build those out. So that's a big one for me. And the collaborations were so cool. We got so much attention on the Pokestop. We had a couple articles written about us this year. And, obviously, yes, milestones, and, Captain Steel and I doing more collaborations this year was really great. Pikmin 4 was really great, though I can't take credit for its greatness. I just celebrate it. The Weasel is one of my all-time favorite projects that I have made myself. There's just something about it. It's a Pokemon I love right off the bat. That means something, but it's just so cute. And it's the perfect size, in my opinion, that it's super massive for a plushie. That is a jumbo plushie, but it's still super huggable. So it just brings me a lot of joy. And it's probably the number one Pokemon that I pull off of the wall just to cuddle. Yeah, went on some good trips, Anime North, again, that was a really big deal to me, being able to have a display. That was super cool. I might do it again next year. I haven't actually thought that hard about it, but it's probably about time I start thinking about it. But I might do that again. That'd be awesome. I guess, yeah, in terms of 2024 plans, so Captain Steel and I do have some stuff in mind, and some of it has to do with this kind of thing. I truly, truly loved these Pokemon Stadium minigames, and I think there is potential to make more of them. And so I may not have a display in the Anime North Gallery again, but we may try and do just something big to bring to Anime North, like how we just set up the Pokestop out front. We weren't affiliated, we weren't a guest, we just set it up. We might try and bring something really cool to set up at Anime North, and I don't know if it would be worth my time to do the whole display again. But I'll see. I do have a ton of Pokemon now, like so many. I would not need to do a 40-hour work week to like make enough Pokemon anymore. I would have to pick and choose which ones I'm bringing this time. But yeah, definitely been a really good year. A lot that I'm really, really proud of. And when I look at how much I did this year compared to last year, it's massive. I was a content creator for, I guess, all of last year. Like, I did some cool stuff for sure. Stuff I am proud of. But it was a bit more all over the place. And so it was right at the end of 2022 when I kind of figured out what my niche is, I guess, what I want to focus on. And so seeing how much I can accomplish in a year of knowing what I'm focused on is pretty crazy. So I don't even know what to expect of myself in 2024. But I am excited to find out, and I hope you are too. Like I said, I think there might be some more Pokemon Stadium coming. And kind of on that note, I can quickly address the couple questions that we got on Instagram. So first of all, we have a question that says Rayquaza when? I don't know. I have no idea. Rayquaza is massive. And I've gotten this question from a few people actually, because Rayquaza is a very big fan favorite, clearly. But I don't even know where I would put it if I made it. It's not going to fit in the house. It's not going to happen. And it would just take countless balls of yarn. Let's say Rayquaza when I hit 100,000 followers on probably Instagram. But I guess whatever platform it happens first. If I hit 100K, I can start on Rayquaza. And the other question I got just says the Sonic Chow. And I mean, I was kind of asking if people had questions about a project I had made, something that I could give more detail and behind the scenes about, as opposed to a request for a future project. But hey, I am open to requests for future projects, and I happen to absolutely adore chows. That was definitely a big part of my childhood too. We played so much Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and at some point I played the game itself a bit, but mostly I played the Chow Garden, and then I asked my sister to go and collect more Chaos Drives for me so I could go back to the Chow Garden. And I didn't actually want to play through the levels, I just wanted the power-ups for my Chows. I spent so much time with my Chows. And the thing about chows is that they're a very weird shape. So I actually tried to start crocheting one once. God knows if I still have... knowing me, I probably still have that part laying around somewhere. In fact, hang on, I might know where it is. Okay, no, it wasn't in the pile right there where I thought it might be, so I'm not going to be able to show it off. But I did try and make a chow, and it didn't go well. It was just such a weird shape to try and make. But that was a long time ago, and I've had a lot more practice since then, so I can definitely give it another go. My solution the last time was to just needle felt it instead. So this is going back to May of 2022. But just because I don't think a lot of people have necessarily seen that far back. I needle felted a chow, and I thought it was the cutest friggin' thing ever. This is another one that I'm really proud of. Like, I don't needle felt often, but when I do, I put in the care and I make it amazing. So I have done a single chow project, but I can definitely look into doing a crocheted one in the new year. Life size, potentially. I'd have to do some research. See, there's got to be information out there about like the height of Sonic and Eggman in them. Or maybe even stats on chows themselves. There's tons of variations of chows. There were different colors. You can do angel, you can do dark. So yeah, I think that'd be a really fun one to do. And maybe I'll get to it one of these days. I will say that my plans for 2024 do have a little bit of variance away from Pokemon. Not like a ton. It is one of my absolute favorite franchises, so I will still be doing a lot of focus on that. But I have a couple things in mind that I would like to do. There's a new Persona 3 game coming out early in 2024 that I am very excited about. So I will probably do a couple projects that are more Persona themed. I do have one coming up that is Monster Hunter. And I'm actually pretty excited about that too. It's going to be... this goes back to this concept about how do you judge size? Is it length? Is it volume? I don't know if it'll be bigger than Clodsire, but it might be my biggest project to date, this monster. So that's going to be really cool. And yeah, there is stuff that I care about beyond Pokemon, but I think it's going to be a lot of all of it. And then of course on YouTube, I would maybe like to continue that series I was talking about, like the Pokedex entries that confuse me. I might like to continue that into 2024, but bring it onto YouTube and do short videos like that. I've got lots of ideas. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this recap of my year. I hope maybe I said something interesting. Maybe you learned something you didn't know, a fun Catser fact that you can now flex with someday. But yeah, it's been a great year, and I'm super happy with everything I've done, and I would love to, answer more questions if you've got them. Drop them in the comments, and I can still go back and give you some answers if there's anything you want to know. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being there for Catser through the year, seeing all the cool stuff I do. I hope to see you some more next year. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Night.